All right, partners, next up we have small business loans. Our new partnership, Walt Levengood, is here to discuss small business loans. It's a quick and easy small business loans financing. So if you have a merchant that needs a loan from anything from a startup to expansion, we now have SBL to offer as a solution. And don't forget, the presentation that you'll be seeing is also in the handout, so you'll want to grab that. Walt, whenever you are ready, I'll go ahead and I'll change the presenter keys over to you.
Okay, thank you. You should be able to see the SBL presentation screen.
Yes, I see it now.
Excellent. Just give me 1 second. So, welcome. I hope everyone's having a good day. As it was mentioned earlier, Small Business Loan is a financial health platform that helps small businesses, merchants to obtain the financing that they need. So we've got a relatively quick presentation that we will run through. If there's any questions, we'll address them all at the end. This presentation is also available to be downloaded as part of today's training and meeting sessions. When as we all know, inside small business is really big business. It's very critical to the health of the economy, but it's also extremely fragmented. What we're looking to focus on today is really the main bulk of the SMBs, right? These are the sub 20 employee space, which really makes up about 98% of the small businesses that are out there. It's not that we can't work with large, medium-sized enterprise. It's just really that's where we're focused on today. So one of the things that SBL is, as I mentioned, we're a financial health platform. We are not a direct lender, but rather we are a network of lenders that will be able to bring different products and offerings to your SMB. We break them into really 5 categories. And the reason we break it into 5 is if you said there was 80, it's just way overwhelming for the SMB. So we call it working capital or split funding, which is really a 3 to 24 month term product. We have term loan providers that are 1, 3, 5, and 7-year offerings. We have line of credit, which right now is probably the most sought after product in the ecosystem. We have equipment finance. Now, this equipment is not point of sale financing. This is true equipment. I need a new truck, landscaping. I need a new oven, range, etc. for my SMB, for my restaurant and so forth. And then lastly is the SBA loan, which is a 5 to 10 year type product. In this, we really start to break out the product matrix that goes from left to right, the different products offerings, and then top to bottom is what's the average funded amounts and the ranges that are available. And so in the funding amounts, we can fund anywhere from $3,000 up to $1 million across all the products. And then funding, the time to fund is really, this assumes that the SMB is committed and they have the necessary access to the data points that are required. Okay, and so we do have instances in which people can fund within 24 hours and get financing the next day. And then SBAs does take a little bit longer than traditional financing, and that's what happens when you work with the government when they're open. So there has been a backlog of SBAs coming out of the shutdown, but the SBA loan is more of a 2 to 4 week type program and requires additional documentation. Term lengths, what are the lengths of the financing options, go anywhere from 3 months up to 10 years. And then payment frequency can be daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It's really, some of that is up to the SMB as to what works best with their cash flow. I refer to these as the big 3 data points: minimum annual gross sales, what is their owner's personal credit score, and then their time in business. And they're really the three things that drive. And so if you look at the scale, we can go anywhere from 500 credit as the minimum, 3 months time in business, and 50,000 in annual revenue. And so anytime an SMB is in pre-revenue, it's literally a brand new startup. If it's their first location, that is a challenge. But if they're expanding and it's their second, third, or fourth location, the lenders will look at the overall credit worthiness of the business, not necessarily just the new location. On average, the minimum documentation is 3 months of bank statements in the signed credit application. The digital sign process works rather well with the lenders on the platform. And from the bank statements, most of the lenders have a digital online aggregator. So think of Plaid or Finicity that allows the SMB to log into their account and to push all of the bank statements electronically so that they don't need to necessarily print, scan, and send in actual bank statements. Sample use proceeds. So we just talked about the startup for a new location, working capital expansion, equipment, real estate payroll. It's really, as long as the proceeds of the financing is to be business use, and this is not like someone's going to be like, I'm going to go get $50,000 to Vegas and put it on black, then most of the proceeds are covered. What we build out here is we call this the sample, preferred and restricted. And the reason we call it a sample is because different lenders have different long lists, but this is really just a synopsis of. And so if we look at the industries not served, the one I want to call out is tobacco. This is more of tobacco from a growing cannabis, et cetera, versus am I a vape shop selling paraphernalia that would be used and so forth. Auto sales are an absolute challenge for new and used. Unless it's a service center, then it's very different, okay? So we like to call out the nonprofit organizations are also a challenge, and that's why they're on the industries not served list. In the instance, and we've had this conversation more than a few times, but in the instance that you or your agent partner, you have a special over index, maybe you specialize in food trucks and you're using the Pay Anywhere to gather more food trucks into your portfolio, then by all means, there's an email at the end of this. If you've got you've got a portfolio of 10,000 food trucks and we need to be able to go find special financing for them, then we're happy to work with you and our lending partners to see how we can meet those needs if and when they arise. This is the most important page on the entire presentation, okay? And we're going to spend a few minutes here. I would actually ask, if you're sitting in front of a computer, to actually go to this agent enrollment site, which is smallbusinessloans.com/north-iso-registration. This is how an agent generates their unique URL that they will send to the merchants. In there's an organization drop down and your agent ID. Once you have this completed, you'll get an email that will actually have the URL in there. That is the URL that you will send to your current portfolio or even potential future merchants that are looking for financing. If you don't leverage that URL, then we can't track that unique opportunity back to you, back to North, and that means that we can't pay you the compensation if and when that SMB gets financing. And so that's why we ask that everyone go through this flow now. It's going to take you literally a few minutes, if that. There's only 5 data points on the page. If in the instance the organization drop down doesn't have the right name in there, let us know. We can always add more into this, but this should be the most updated list. Let's give it a few more seconds. This is the email. So in the instance that you were named Walter, you would get an email that looks like this, and that is the unique URL that is important. You can see in here is the agent ID that I use, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A to F, my information. Again, this is what you can then use to send. It doesn't change the look, feel, experience. It's all about tracking and reporting. So it's not as if I'm going to have a URL that says Walt, and there's going to be a picture of me on the website. None of that. Again, tracking and reporting. That would bring them to a co-branded page, SBL, in partnership with North, a little bit of education on the landing page. As they go through the flow, they will be asked for their mid. Again, this is another way that we can help align some of the tracking, because there is instances that, there's 10 different subways that are processing, or shared names and so forth. In the instance that you're going after a new merchant that doesn't have a mid, hasn't been onboarded, you can enter in all ones. So we use it from a tracking perspective, but we are not validating in that step. The last two pages are really about the FAQs, and this is from the sales rep FAQs, right? So what are some of the benefits of working with SBL other than being able to work with an amazing organization? It's one form for multiple offers. There is fast funding available. It is free to use, so there's no customer fees, and it's secure. It's bank level encryption that we utilize here. Common questions that you may receive is, will it hurt my credit? No. SBL performs soft pull unless you accept the lender's offer, and then in some instances, that lender will need to do a hard pull at the time of funding. What do you need to apply? It's easy. It's just the basic business information, and then that 3 to 6 months of bank statements, depending on seasonality. And again, they can just log into their account electronically and sync. What if you don't qualify? Then we're going to help provide you guidance. We're going to try to let the SMB know and understand what they need to be able to qualify. Maybe it's their time in business. Maybe they have an outstanding debt that they haven't been able to pay off enough of yet, and so forth. 2 reminders. The unique referral is how we track the customer and how it's tracked to you. And then from your internal North compliance team, they always want to make sure you're not making any promises or guarantees of loan approval, funding time, or amounts. This is more of an FAQ from the merchant, right? What is the SBL platform? We've covered that. What types of financing? Term loans, line of credit, SBA, equipment, invoicing, and many more, as we're always adding new lending products and partners to the platform. How fast can you obtain? As little as 24 hours, with the understanding that SBAs may take longer. It doesn't impact their credit, and it's completely free. north@smallbusinessloans.com is the email address that is monitored. SBL has offices in California, Atlanta, as well as Florida. So we cover both coasts. That concludes the entertainment for today. I'm not able to see questions, so at this moment in time, if there's any questions that you want to present, we can continue to look at that.
Yes, thank you so much, Walt. I do have a question here regarding prospecting. Can we use this as a prospecting tool?
Absolutely. So you can use this as a prospecting tool, and you can, when that SMB would get to the mid, all they need to do is just enter in the ones for the mid, and they'd be all set. We will still track that back to the agent, and they'll be able to see the status, receive, compensation, etc.
Partners, don't forget, as Walt said, the most important deck, or the most important slide was the agent enrollment. If you didn't get a chance to see it, the deck that is presented is in the handout. Also, the agent enrollment link is in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and click on that now, just like Walt said, get started now, then you'll receive your unique URL. Let's see here. If my merchant is funded through small business loans using one of your approved lending partners, is the identity of that lender disclosed to me as the agent? Reasons: several of my sales channel partners may already be ISOs for lenders that small business loans. 1 second. That small business loans. Where is? I apologize, folks. This screen is jumping on me.
I can take a shot at this, and I think the answer is yes. So in the instance that we obtain financing for ABC company with Bank of America as an example, Wells Fargo, American Express, et cetera, then we provide that reporting information back to North, who then segments the report back to the individual agents, organizations, and so forth.
What is the compensation to the agent?
It's a great question. So right now, compensation, as you can imagine, will vary between product offerings because product offerings also have risk-based pricing. So the most sought after SBA loan today probably has a rate to the end user somewhere in a high single digit, low teens. Okay. So the compensation is a little bit lower on that, where compensation for working capital and split funding may be slightly different. So the way the compensation is that North is paying 50% of the revenue they generate back down to the merchant. Okay. And the rates that vary across this product matrix, rates could be anywhere from, commissions could be anywhere from 2 to 8% across the board of the funded amount.
Is this considered a cash advance program?
The working capital split funding in some vernacular could be referred to as a merchant cash advance or a business cash advance. Depending on how long you've been in the industry, sometimes the merchant cash advance has a negative connotation to it because of bad actors in the past. So we just break it into working capital split funding.
Is repayment of these loans taken from the merchant's daily batches?
They have the ability, so split funding would be the ability in which the repayment would be handled out of merchant settlement. And in other instances, there's a daily, weekly ACH settlement that is processed by the individual lender, and that is between the lender and the merchant.
Do you also loan to ISOs?
By definition, an ISO is an SMB, and the ISO would be able to go through the flow and look if they qualify for financing. Yes.
Is the loan amount based on monthly processing?
The loan is not solely based off of monthly processing. Most of the lenders on the platform are a cash flow lender, so they're looking at not just the merchant processing, but all of the cash flow sales of the business. And so, if you're a healthcare, as the last partner went through, if you're a dentist, there's an instance in which the processing may only be a portion because you're receiving your insurance payments and everything else into that doctor's office. So it's not solely off of the credit card, which could just be some of the copay, but actually off of all the revenue generated from that doctor.
What happens if a merchant gets funding but is not a current North merchant?
So again, I think as we discussed in the flow of the right here, where they are asked for the MID, if you're not a current North merchant, you don't have a MID, just enter in ones and they can continue to go through that flow. And that goes for the ISO, because there's an instance in which the ISO doesn't have a MID. They'd be able to just enter in the ones there and go through the flow.
Can you discuss the rates?
Sure. Across the product sets, there are rates that vary. So some of these are actual presented in APR and others are presented as factor rates. So let me explain factor rate real quick. So a factor rate is a discount rate, and they are presented as a 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, et cetera. And so what that means in real layman's terms is that factor rate is a discount. So you're selling future receivables at a discount. So if it was a 110, that means for every dollar that they give the merchant is going to give back $1.10. If it was a 120, it would be $1.20 and so forth. So we have rates on the factor rate side that go anywhere from a 110 up to a 14 and change. Again, it's really about the risk parameters. Most of those higher factor rates are non-recourse, non-personally guaranteed transactions. From term loans, we have term loans that will range anywhere depending on where Fed funds changes with the government today. You can see SBA and term loans being at Fed funds or Wall Street Journal Prime +2, all the way into mid to high 20s. Lines of credit are normally somewhere in the 1 to 2% per month, so you can get to an annualized rate in the teens, if you will.
Can a merchant apply for a loan using their property as collateral?
Some of the lenders, such as the SBA, will actually require hard assets to be able to lend against. Some of the lines of credit are actually asset-backed lines of credit. So in the instance, the asset they're looking to leverage is the property of the business or other assets, then yes, but it is not required. We have non-recourse lines of credit that are just cash flow underwritten.
Are the merchants paying back at a set monthly amount, or is it based on what amount is taken in from credit card processing?
So it can be both. So in the instance that is the split processing, in which they are taking 22% of the daily settlement, then it's going to vary per day. In the instance that it is one of the other products where it's daily, weekly, biweekly, and monthly, in 90-some% of those, they're going to be in a set dollar amount. So you're going to pay X dollars per day, per week, per month to the financing entity.
If an agent merchant signs up but does not use the URL, can the agent still get compensation?
No. And I hate to, I'm never a fan of saying no, ever. I'd rather be able to give you a better answer, but the challenge is the attribution and accounting tracking to say that it was agent 1 versus agent 007 and across all of SBL's portfolio is a challenge. And so the agreement between SBL and North is that without that tracking, we are unable to share the information, reporting, and compensation, which is why I said this was the most important part of the presentation.
Excellent. So partners, please, if you haven't already, go ahead and click that link in the chat. Also, it is available in the handouts. You'll want to get that URL sent out to you, all of your merchants as quickly as possible. Make sure they're using that so we can track it back to you. Partners, we have Walt for just a few more minutes. If anyone else has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the question box. If a merchant goes out of business before paying back the loan, do you claw back money from the agent?
It's a great question. So in the instance that the merchant went bad in the first 30 days due to fraud, there is an instance in which SBL would claw back the commission from North, and then North has the ability, but not required, to address that with their agent. Again, it has to be for fraud, not just bad underwriting. So it is possible, but the likelihood is on the lower side.
Got a question here from our partner, Kurt. Once approved for a non-North merchant, is a merchant account created for them? So Kurt, if you don't mind clarifying, were you thinking about using this as a closing tool? If so, then yes, you would have to submit an application just like you would any other merchant, so they can have a North mid.
I'm sorry, I may have missed some of that.
Oh, sorry, Walt. This the agent was asking if once approved for a non-North merchant, what are the next steps? Is the merchant account created for them? And the answer would be
No, we
right.
no, we are not creating any merchant processing mid relationships. We are only providing financing.
Have there been many approved loans so far?
Yes, so the program has been up and running for a period of time now. We are continuing to work with the Payments Hub team around how we can embed this into the Payments Hub so that financing would be available when they log in to check their account with inside Payments Hub. So we continue to build out the relationship with North. I get to do these trainings right now, twice a month, it feels like. So we're excited about
yeah.
the
So payment from this would happen even without a North mid.
Yes, that is correct.
Walt, it looks like that's all the questions we have. Thank you so much for your time, partners. Again, don't forget to grab the handout, and then more importantly, that link in the chat so you can create your unique URL. You want to get that out to your merchants. Like it was discussed, if your merchant does get approved for a loan, but they didn't use that URL, we cannot tie it back to you. Walt, thank you so much again for your time. And partners, thank you for sticking around.